It's time to talk about a real St. Lucian love affair. For well over 3 decades, this pilgrimage has been happening from Europe right into St. Lucia. And I'm very pleased to welcome the managing director of the World Cruising Club, Andrew Bishop, who joins us right now to talk about the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers. Andrew, you're like family. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
The pleasure is all ours. Now, Andrew, just tell us, what has the secret been to the success of ARC over these many years?
Well, the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers, which is more fondly known as the ARC, started in 1986 and was founded by Mr. Jimmy Cornell. He saw the opportunity of bringing together a group of boats that were transiting across the Atlantic at the particular time of year, getting ready to leave Europe as winter fell and arriving into the Caribbean for a Caribbean season. And he brought the boats together, and ever since then it's been an annual pilgrimage, growing in numbers year on year. The first 4 years didn't come to St. Lucia, but then in 1990 the Ark started arriving on the shores of St. Lucia and has been very happily arriving at what we call our home in the Caribbean ever since.
Fabulous. And now it's really become that global bucket list event on sailing calendars around the world. And you have teams from all over the world. Now, what do you consider to be the top highlights from your perspective, but also what do the skippers and their crew members tell you about participating in the Ark and crossing the Atlantic, making landfall into St. Lucia?
Well, Richard, as you say, it is a truly international event, and every year we have many nationalities represented, and this year alone on the Ark we have 28 different nationalities. So that's one of the things that really appeals to the participants, is that it's not dominated by one nationality. It's a multicultural event which brings together so many different people, but their one common love, of course, is sailing. And as you rightly say, it has become known as a bucket list event. So not only are people wanting to sail their own boats across the Atlantic, but there are many hundreds of people who are just looking for that experience of sailing the Atlantic, and so they go as crew on many different boats, whether it be with a private owner, with friends and family, or perhaps on one of the many charter boats that participate on the event. The highlight for many of them, of course, is actually making landfall in the Caribbean. All this planning and preparation for setting off, and perhaps the daunting part of it for many is the fact that it's such a long time at sea. Now, even when you sail down to the Canary Islands, we start the event from Las Palmas to Gran Canaria, and the distance down to there is not so much. It's about 1,000 miles from northern Europe, but then they've got the course of 2,700 miles. So for someone who's doing the Ark for the first time, that's one of the highlights, is the fact that they're going to be at sea for much longer than they've ever experienced before. They're going to be in a small confined space with their fellow crewmates for a long period of time, and they're going to get to know each other even better than they thought they knew each other before they left. But also, the sailing is amazing. Someone once quoted that they worked out that they're going to roll on the Atlantic crossing over 1 million times. The sea is on your starboard quarter, so you set course and the boat rolls slowly from side to side as you cross the Atlantic. It's a fantastic point of sailing, and it's unusual to have the wind in such a position for so many hundreds, in fact thousands of miles. So it's a truly great sailing experience, as well as a cultural experience of meeting all these different people, nationalities, and of course, as I've already mentioned, arriving in the Caribbean and in St. Lucia in particular has to be the highlight. When you see, after what is typically 18 to 20 days at sea for the majority of boats, you see the land starting to come up over the horizon. even with today's modern technology, you know that you're in the right place. But even so, it's a fantastic sight. And you see the clouds over the land, you start to smell the smells of the Caribbean. And then it's just an amazing welcome that they get once they've crossed the finish line in Rodney Bay and come into the marina there. So it so many different experiences. You know, at sea, the amazing sunsets, the wildlife, the dolphins playing around the bow. Sometimes they see whales. A lot of fishing going on. So many different stories from the people when they make landfall in St. Lucia.
Thank you. You know, this is why we had to have you on, because you really paint that picture. And I think it all distills down like a wonderful bottle of rum. It distills down to the people that you meet when you sail. So I tell you what, we've prepared some testimonials for you from participants of the Ark. Let's take a look at that at this time.
My name is Marijke. I'm the captain of this ship. It's a catamaran, a Lagoon 52 called Great Circle. This is my husband, Mark.
Hi.
We are already sailing together for 4 years now on the lagoon. First totally to the north of Norway, above the Arctic Circle. And now we are ready for our first ocean crossing. And what we hope to see in Saint Lucia is, of course, the beautiful nature, the food that we want to try. We want to dive or snorkel in the water world.
Hi, I'm Dan. This is Skylark of London, and we're doing the Ark, I think, for the 10th time. We're very much looking forward to getting in St. Lucia and doing the crossing. It's always an amazing welcome and a great place to visit. I think I'm looking forward to kiting over at Cassenbar. I'm looking forward to some rum punch, maybe some nice tuna, and generally just the welcome that we get when we get there is just amazing. So.
See, St. Lucia becomes their home away from home, and a fantastic time as well. The end of the old year and ushering in a brand new year. Andrew, what are your expectations for the Ark in 2021?
One of the great things, Richard, is the fact that the Ark remains as popular as ever year on year, and typically now we have 200 boats in the Ark itself. But due to the continuing success of the Ark and also to the unfortunate experiences of last year where not so many people were able to sail because of the pandemic, we've got a lot more people that want to cross to the Caribbean this winter. And so we've actually launched a new event called Ark January, which is going to sail across from Gran Canaria in early January, arriving in late January, early February. And we're delighted that we have an extra 55 boats in that event. So, we're looking forward to 2 full events arriving in St. Lucia. The boats are already beginning to leave Northern Europe to get down to Gran Canaria to continue with their preparations. And that's sometimes the thing that people don't appreciate is that you don't just leave home and suddenly find yourself sailing across the Atlantic. There's a lot of time and preparation for the boat and also for all the crew. And so, we're really looking forward to the full event. We've got a great number of multi-hulls in the event, so that's catamarans predominantly. Of the Ark entries, we've got 38 catamarans, and then in Ark January we've got 16 catamarans, much more popular cruising boat than they used to be, say, 20 years ago. And one of the really great things about the events is that we have a lot of children on them. And this year we've got 26 children on 15 boats in the Ark, and then 11 children on 6 boats in Ark January. They really do help create a very special atmosphere, not only just amongst those boats with children, but amongst the fleet. And it's always a great at the prize giving at the end of the event to see all the children come up on stage together, and the recognizing their achievement of actually being on the boat sailing across the Atlantic at the ages that they are is really something very special indeed.
And also too that they've had a multicultural experience, which we all know that travel, whether you sail or you fly, it's certainly a really great teacher and exposure. I want to ask you your expert tips for those who are participating in the ARC. What are your expert tips?
Well, the first tip is about boat preparation. It's really important that even if you know your boat well, that you get to know it better. If you're fitting new equipment to the boat, don't wait until the last minute. Do it well in advance so that you've got the opportunity to trial it on your way down to Gran Canaria before the start. Think about your crew very carefully. Your closest friend and next door neighbor isn't necessarily the best person to take sailing with you. You need to have the right mix of skill sets on board. And sometimes it's a good idea to actually take people that you do that well, so get to know them during the crossing. So think very carefully about the crew that you're taking and the number of crew that you have. The event is full of boats that are sailed by just a couple who see it as their dream ambition to sail across the Atlantic together and perhaps on around the world just as a couple. And then there are other boats that are fully crewed with maybe as many as 10 or even 12 people on. So very, very different sizes of boats and sizes of crews. And that get to Gran Canaria in good time to explore the Canaries. Don't just leave it until the last minute. And also leave plenty of time to explore the Caribbean on arrival. What we find is that the boats definitely split into two groups. There are those that are more racing and more professional who head north as soon as they get to the Caribbean. But for a cruising boat, really, you've made landfall in St. Lucia, head south, enjoy the southern Caribbean, and then come back to St. Lucia and spend more time in St. Lucia before leaving at the end of the season. It's a really fantastic opportunity to enjoy some great sailing, and the better prepared you are for the trip, then the more that you'll enjoy it.
Andrew Bishop, you are not just family to us here in St. Lucia, you're also an ambassador for the Caribbean. And we'd like to thank you very much for your participation, your input, your sacrifices over the years in making the ARC what it is today. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. Andrew Bishop has been my guest. He's the managing director of the World Cruising Club.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to arriving in November, early December with the ARC this year.
We'll see you soon.